This is Rise Together News. Remember in my last post, we talked about the void, how matter was created through Sophia's yearning and dreaming, how she was unable to reproduce a being like herself because she was young and lacked knowledge. And lacking a proper reflection of herself, she created without her consort the dynamics that formed Earth and the material realm. The story continues. In her yearning and dreaming, she produced the form of something imperfect and different from herself, because she didn't know any better. And it appeared to her as a snake with the face of a lion. And when she saw it, she was horrified and told it to leave. Now this snake had no idea how he came into being, but he saw in the water a reflection, the likeness that spoke to him. And what he heard sounded like Yaldabaoth. And so he called himself Yaldabaoth from then on. Yaldabaoth left his mother and created realms for himself which exist to this day. He mated mindlessly and created authorities and rulers corresponding with the spheres of his dwelling place, which he called heaven. And from matter he created a footstool called earth. And the rulers of heaven created powers for themselves, along with their armies and agents called angels. Yaldabaoth, being androgynous himself, had a feminine name, Sambathus. He bore androgynous children and named them with both masculine and feminine names as well. Yeo, whose feminine name is lordship. Sabaoth, whose feminine name is divinity. Adonais, whose feminine name is kingship. Eloi, whose feminine name is envy. Oreos, whose feminine name is wealth. Astaphios, whose feminine name is Sophia. So how did this happen? How did Yaldabaoth do all this? Well, let's go back to the Bible. Genesis 1 verses 3 and 4. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And God saw that the light was good, and he separated the light from the darkness. The Hebrew Interlinear Bible puts it this way. And Elohim is saying, "He shall become light," and he is becoming light. And Elohim, he is seeing the light that is good. And Elohim, he is separating between the light and the darkness. The Genesis creation story is clear that this Elohim is dark. He wants to become light, so he shapeshifts and becomes light. We see that in the Hebrew. He sees that the light is good. He likes the light, so he makes it distinguishable and uses the same technique to create all kinds of other beings. Now, this may sound like magic, but it's not. Thought is an electrical signal, and remember, Sophia came into being through thought. But her thought was different from the original thought that created her, and she didn't recognize what it produced. It scared her, so she spoke and told it to leave, and the Gnostic texts say she surrounded him with a cloud. So in the story, we have the propagation of light waves, which are transverse, and sound waves, which are longitudinal. Together, they look like a wavy slinky, maybe even like a snake. Where sound waves and light waves intersect, you have an interference pattern which causes phase conjugation, a physical transformation of the wave field. Now remember, our creation scenarios are happening through water and mist. The water acts as a mirror, and the mist, a distorting medium. With a phase conjugate mirror, the wave is reflected back the way it came, and propagating backwards through the distorting medium, the distortion is undone. But when a wave is reflected at an angle, it reflects back at an angle equal to the angle of the reflection and produces a distorted image because the image that is reflected is from the mirror and not directly from the original image. So the creation myths preserve in story form the reality of our world, how we got here, where we are now, why things are so distorted and chaotic, and how to fix it. When wave pulses travel through one another, they will continue their motion undistorted. But when the image that is reflected comes from the mirror and not the original image, you get distortion. See? In the creation story, we have a continued pattern of reproduction at angles. And this is why Yaldabaoth created authorities that are called angels. They're actually angles. And these are the Elohim. That's all for now. I'm Cindy K. Courier. See you next time.